want to know the secret to looking like a saint? It's mostly about posture and keeping your mouth shut. I'm 89 years old. I live in a monastery about 4,000 meters up a rock face in the Himalayas. The air is so thin up here that visitors get dizzy just tying their boots. They look at me, sitting perfectly still in the snow, wrapped in these thin saffron robes, and they start crying. They think they are witnessing a miracle. They think I've transcended the physical plane. They don't know I'm just freezing my ass off because I calculated that suffering this cold is worth a massive payout in the next life. My name is Wei. For the last 40 years, I've been the holy gardener of the High Peak Temple. I grow medicinal herbs in soil that should be too frozen to support life. I bandage the feet of pilgrims. I listen to the village elders complain about their goats and their arthritis. I never interrupt. I never complain. I smile that soft, beatific smile that looks like I know the secrets of the universe. But here's the truth, just between you and me. I don't care about the goats. I don't care about the herbs. I don't care about the pilgrims. I'm a merchant. I always have been. I used to sell silk and spices in the lowlands, and I was good at it. I knew exactly what things cost and what they sold for. When I came up here, I didn't stop being a merchant. I just switched markets. I stopped trading coin and started trading virtue. Every morning, I wake up at 3 a.m. That's 10 karma points. I scrub the floors until my knuckles bleed. 20 points. I give my bowl of rice to the starving stray dog outside the gate. 50 points. I keep a ledger in my head. I'm karma maxing. That's what the young hikers might call it if they knew what I was doing. I'm obsessively stacking up good deeds like gold bars in a vault. My goal isn't enlightenment. I don't want to dissolve into the cosmos. I want leverage. I want to walk up to the pearly gates or the bardo or whatever judgment awaits, slam my ledger down on the counter, and demand the premium package. I want total safety. I want a guarantee. But lately, the atmosphere up here has changed. The wind sounds different. It doesn't whistle anymore. It whispers. And the shadows in the corner of my hut seem to stay put even when I move the candle. I have this sinking feeling that I've been auditing my own books, and I might have missed a very important line item. You're wondering why a successful merchant runs away to freeze on a mountain for half a century? You think maybe I had a vision? No. I had a sister. Her name was May. May was the actual good person. She didn't keep score. She just loved people. She'd give away her lunch and not even remember doing it. She was chaos in a way. Messy, loud, happy chaos. When I was 45 and she was 40, a cart broke loose in the market square. It was a heavy transport, loaded with iron beams. It shouldn't have broken loose. The brake mechanism was new. The road was flat. Physics said it should have stayed put. It didn't. It rolled. It crushed her against a stone wall. I stood there, holding a bolt of expensive blue silk, and I watched the light go out of her eyes. It was instant. It was brutal. And worst of all, it was random.
That was the thing that broke me. Not the grief, though that was heavy, but the randomness. The absolute lack of logic. May was good, and the universe crushed her like an insect. There was no transaction. She didn't get what she paid for. I couldn't handle the chaos. I couldn't sleep thinking that life was just a series of accidents waiting to happen. I needed rules. I needed a system where input equals output. So I created one. I decided the universe had to be a strict ledger, and if May died, it was because of some invisible debt. I wouldn't make that mistake. I would prepay everything. I would overpay. I would control my destiny by being so aggressively perfectly good that the universe wouldn't dare crush me. I came to this mountain to control the variables. No family to lose, no money to be stolen, no carts to break. Just me, the rituals, and the score. But there's a problem. A big one. Yesterday, I was washing the sores of a leper who climbed up from the valley. I washed him tenderly. I spoke kind words. I gave him my blanket. On the outside, I was a saint. But inside, in my head, I was screaming. I was disgusted by the smell. I hated him for coming here and dirtying my clean floor. I resented every second of it. I was doing the deed, but my heart was venomous. And last night, as I lay in the dark, I heard a voice. It sounded like the wind, but it came from under my bed. It said, "The ledger records the thought way, not the hand." If that's true, if my resentment counts against my actions, then I haven't been saving up for 40 years. I've been digging a hole, and I think something is finally climbing out of it to collect.
It happened 3 days later. I knew it was coming. My heart started fluttering like a trapped moth, skipping beats, then racing, then stopping for long, terrifying pauses. Most people would panic. They'd call for the doctor or scream for help. Not me. I was ready. This was the moment I'd been working towards since the day May died. This wasn't death. This was payday. I was finally going to the bank to cash out my investment. I went to my meditation mat. I adjusted my robes so they would fall perfectly when I collapsed. I sat in the lotus position, back straight, hands open on my knees. I wanted the younger monks to find me and say, "Look at Master Wei. Even in death, he was perfect." I closed my eyes and waited. When the final beat came, it wasn't painful. It was just a clunk, like a heavy door latching shut. The cold of the mountain vanished. The smell of incense vanished. The ache in my knees vanished. I thought I would open my eyes to a golden light. Maybe my ancestors welcomed me with garlands. Maybe a nice warm room where I could finally rest. Instead, I opened my eyes to static. Have you ever been in a room so dark you can't tell if your eyes are open or closed? That's where I was. But it wasn't empty. It felt heavy, pressurized, like being at the bottom of the ocean but without the water. There was a sound too, a low electric hum. It sounded like a high voltage wire right next to your ear. I stood up, or I think I stood up. I didn't have a body anymore, not really, but I still felt like me. I looked around, waiting for the guide, waiting for the reward. "Hello?" I said. My voice didn't echo. It just died instantly, swallowed by the black. "I am Vey. I have completed the cycle. I am ready for the transition." I waited. The hum got louder. And then I realized I wasn't standing on ground. I was standing on glass. The light didn't come from above. It exploded from everywhere at once. It wasn't warm sunlight. It was cold, hard, white light, clinical light, like the kind they use in operating rooms, but brighter. It seared through me. And there, hanging in the void in front of me, was the thing. It wasn't a god. It wasn't a demon. It looked like geometry. It was a massive rotating structure made of crystal and light shifting shapes constantly. A cube, then a pyramid, then a dodecahedron spinning so fast it made me nauseous. It was beautiful, but in the way a scalpel is beautiful. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. It just vibrated, and I understood. It was the judge, and worse, it was the ledger. "I am ready," I said again, though my confidence was starting to crack. The light was too revealing. It felt like it was shining through my ghost, seeing things I wanted to keep hidden. "I have lived a life of sacrifice. I have the records. 40 years of service, thousands of meals given, medicine administered, silence observed." The structure stopped spinning. It froze in the shape of a perfect, sharp diamond. A screen, or something like a screen, materialized in the air between us. It was huge, towering over me. It looked like a spreadsheet, endless rows and columns of burning red text scrolling down at impossible speeds. One line stopped and magnified. Date, winter, year 42. Action, gave rice to starving dog. External value, +50. I smiled. "See, I told you. I was right." Then the text shifted. The red letters twisted, bleeding into a darker, uglier color. Internal intent. Disgusting vermin. If I feed it, I gain merit. If it dies here, it will smell. True moral value, -50. My smile fell off my face. I stared at the number. -50? That wasn't right. That was a transaction fee. That was a clerical error. "Wait," I said, stepping forward. "Wait a minute. The dog ate. The dog lived. The outcome was good. You judged the fruit, not the root." The structure hummed, a sound of grinding glass. Another line magnified. Date, summer, year 38. Action, tended to sick pilgrim. External value, +100. Internal intent, look at them watching me. They think I am holy. I'm better than them. I am purchasing my safety while they wallow in filth. True moral value, -200. The numbers were scrolling faster now. Minus, minus, minus. Every act of kindness I'd ever performed was being stripped of its skin, revealing the rotting, selfish meat underneath.
"Stop!" I screamed. "This is a trick! You're twisting it!" I tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The glass floor stretched out into infinity. The scrolling text was surrounding me now, wrapping around me like a cage of burning light. I fell to my knees, my spectral knees, and tried to bargain. That's what merchants do. When the deal goes sour, you renegotiate. "Listen to me," I shouted at the diamond. "I sacrificed everything. I gave up my life. Does that count for nothing? I could have been rich. I could have been comfortable. I chose the mountain. I chose the cold. The diamond pulsed. A new line appeared, larger than the others. It hovered right in front of my face, vibrating with heat. Core motivation. Fear. Greed. Transactional self-interest. Total net worth. Insolvent. Insolvent. The word hit me harder than the cart that killed May. I wasn't a saint. I was a spiritual embezzler. I had spent 40 years thinking I was depositing currency into a divine bank account, but I had been counterfeiting the whole time. I thought the universe wanted actions. It didn't. It wanted authenticity. And I was a fake. No, I demand a recount. I demand to see the manager. The diamond shifted again. It began to expand. The sheer size of it was overwhelming, a wall of impossible light bearing down on me. It wasn't just a screen anymore, it was a furnace. And then, for the first time, I felt the heat. It wasn't the cold of the void. It was the burning, purifying heat of absolute truth. The ledger didn't care about my excuses. It didn't care about my fear. It only cared about the math. And the math said I was in debt. Massive, unpayable debt. The light engulfed me. It wasn't a warm embrace. It was an eviction notice. "Please," I begged, covering my face as the brilliance burned through my hands. "I can work it off. Send me back. I'll do it for real this time. I won't count the points, I promise." The hum became a roar, a deafening sound of millions of calculations happening at once. The diamond opened up, revealing a core of pure, terrifying emptiness. And as I was pulled into it, I realized the ultimate joke. May made it in. She made it in because she never asked to get in. She just lived. I was the one who locked myself out key by key, deed by deed. The last thing I saw was my own score hitting 0 and keeping on going, plunging down into the red, deep into the darkness where the bad debtors go. I didn't fall forever. I hit the bottom. It wasn't rock. It was a hard, flat surface that felt like cold iron. I scrambled to my feet. The darkness was gone. Now I was in a chamber that looked like the inside of a machine. The walls were miles high, made of that same shifting crystal, humming with that headache-inducing vibration. And the ledger was still there. It was right in my face. "One more!" I screamed, my voice cracking. I was desperate. I felt like I was dissolving, like my very soul was evaporating into steam. "You missed one. You missed the big one." I pointed a shaking finger at the screen. Year 62. The landslide. The child. I saved the child. It was my ace in the hole. My retirement fund. I had risked my life. I had run into a mudslide to pull a village boy out. I had broken my arm. I had almost died. Surely that act was pure. You don't run into a landslide out of selfishness. The crystal hummed. It seemed to consider this. The screen flickered, and the memory played out in high definition. I saw myself, younger, stronger, diving into the mud. I saw myself dragging the boy to safety. I saw the mother weeping, clutching my robes. Action. Saved life of child. Risk factor. Critical. External value. Plus 100. Yes, I sobbed. Yes, see? Plus 100. I am good. I am worthy. The screen paused. The red text began to bleed through again. Internal intent analysis. Subject, weigh. Target, mother of child. I froze. I remembered the mother. She had grabbed my robes. She had kissed my hands, but she hadn't bowed. She hadn't touched her forehead to the dirt. She had been too panicked, too focused on her son. And I remembered what I thought in that split second as I held her bleeding child. Thought record. Bow to me. I am your savior. Why art you lower? You owe me your life. You are nothing without my intervention. Acknowledge my power. The text on the screen flared blindingly bright. Recalculation. Good deed value 100. Pride and resentment penalty 101. Net moral value -1. -1. I stared at it. All of that pain, all of that effort, and because I wanted a receipt, because I wanted her to grovel, I had lost money on the transaction.
No, I whispered. That's unfair. It's just 1 point. It's just a rounding error. The voice that answered wasn't the wind this time. It came from everywhere. It was cold, flat, and absolutely final. Your service was for self. You did not save the boy. You saved your investment. And then the shattering started. It wasn't physical pain. It was worse. It was the sensation of being unmade. My saffron robes, the symbol of my 40 years of fake holiness, didn't rip. They just ceased to exist. My smooth, unlined skin, preserved by years of meditation, withered instantly. I looked down at my hands. They weren't the hands of a master. They were the grasping, clawed hands of a greedy merchant. I was naked. I was small. I was exactly who I had always been. A terrified little man trying to bribe the universe. I tried to cover myself. I tried to run. But the floor just stretched out, infinite and gray. I don't know how long I've been here. Time doesn't really work in the gray room. There is no fire. There are no demons poking me with pitchforks. That's the stuff of children's stories. The reality is much worse. It's just me and the ledger. It hangs in the air in front of me, unmoving. It's a perfect crystalline mirror, but it doesn't show my face. It shows my math. It scrolls through every single moment of my 89 years over and over again. It shows me giving water to a traveler, then highlights the thought, I hope he tells the others how generous I am. -10. It shows me praying for peace, then highlights the thought, if I pray harder than the monk next to me, I win. -5. I have to watch it. I can't close my eyes because I don't have eyelids anymore. I am just a consciousness pinned to the floor of this infinite silent warehouse, forced to audit my bankruptcy forever. This is the true horror. It's not that a cruel God condemned me. It's that I condemned myself. The universe simply enforced the contract I wrote. I wanted a transactional life. I got it.
I wanted to control everything. Well, now I have nothing else to do but look at the controls. Sometimes I think about May. I think about how she died in chaos, crushed by a random cart. I used to think that was the worst fate imaginable. I used to think the lack of order was hell. I was wrong. Hell isn't chaos. Hell is absolute, perfect order. Hell is getting exactly what you paid for, down to the last cent, and realizing you spent your whole life buying the wrong thing. Net worth, negative 4,592,000. And the counter is still running.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. Like and subscribe for more nightmares. Your support keeps the darkness from consuming this channel, so we can face the next terrifying story together. Don't be left in the dark.